This is Paul. See this bar? Yeah. Washington State Bar Association is the only authority that can punish or disbar a lawyer, not the state. Yeah. Washington State cannot do anything about the actual misconduct, right? The fraud and the forgery of Brent Basden. Poop. See, they can't do anything. Yeah. Now, I've emailed the state Supreme Court numerous times, probably thousands of times, and various law enforcement agencies about fraud and forgery and kidnapping and all these other things. But I thought the Bar Association decided that they would not step on each other's toes. When you go through the ABA recognized school, can you get all of those that their law schools are a particular religion? Brigham Young University, yes. Now, this idea that this American Bar Association, yes, would not disbar a court commissioner for fraudulently saying that I received actual notice of court hearings, yes. Did not protect the civil rights of the minors named, yes. Did not issue this in accordance with the full faith and credit provisions of the VAWA, all right. Issued it for 10 years, yes. See number 9. Now, they always said that, well, you can just motion the court, but I thought there were requirements to be able to issue court orders before you issue them. Yes. One of the requirements would be that the petitioner would have to sign it. Right. Another requirement would be that only the employees of the court could actually sign as the ex officio superior court clerk. Yes. And then you could not use a forgery of a dog that happened to be named Brent Basden. Boom! Now, let's say I found some lookalikes sitting in as a superior court because they have to get paid. So, now we're back to this old problem of somebody using lookalikes to be the actual employees of the government of the United States of motherfucking America. See, Mr. Roberts, yes, Mr. Budnick's own correspondence on the date which he is alleged to violate the no contact order reflects that he was aware of the order. Sure, I was aware of it. You served me in the Squim Public Library. Pooch. I sent 1,500,000 emails by the time that you had written this. On the 6th of July of 2018. I sent a million plus copies of it. Oh, the fact that it was issued, of course I'm angry. There was no jurisdiction of law to issue it. Mr. Roberts, the state need not prove personal service of the order. The state does need to prove personal service of the order. Right. The state requires that proof of service be in the court file before you have court hearings. The state requires that you can only issue a temporary protection order for 14 days. The state requires that each and every signature on the actual document has to be the employees of the state. Oh, the state requires that you cannot have court hearings unless there's actual proof of service. You cannot have court hearings unless the petitioner appears in court. You cannot do it now. All right, Mr. Roberts. The state does require, that there has to be attempt of personal service twice. Then you can motion the court for court-ordered publication. Yes. Rather, it need only prove that Mr. Budnick had knowledge of the order's existence. Sure, I had knowledge of it. I'd been emailing copies of it since November 15th of 2000 motherfucking 15 right now. Evidence available to the state established a prima facie case that Mr. Budnick had knowledge of the order. Oh, now knowingly violating it. Its restraint provisions on the date for which he is charged. Yes. The restraint provisions say that I cannot go to the place of work, the house, the daycare, or any other location within 1,000 feet of where my sons are at and where the petitioner is. Yes. But I didn't go to Brendan, Washington on or about June 16th of 2017. I provided the evidence that I was sitting in front of the Masonic Temple and I emailed it to the police department. They refused to exonerate me of any wrongdoing. They would not admit the exculpatory evidence that I was not in Brendan, Washington. And they wouldn't admit that they themselves received the emails that you say that I was using for cyber stalking. Now, when the police, the sheriff, and each and every state of the United States refuses to acknowledge the legal obligation right now, they're all going to fucking prison, Mr. Roberts. Now, what do we find out about Brendan, Washington? Oh, whatever restraint provision you say was violated, it wasn't violated by me. Yes. Did somebody else decide to play the part of Paul C. Budnick, as in you're going to make a little show And then we found out the coach and the superintendent, yeah, helping themselves to approximately an extra $100,000 a year. Yeah. And then there's the exploitation of my son's in the wrong grades. Yes. And for some reason, you don't seem to understand exactly